The Flash is one of my favorite comic book characters. There is so much to love about him. His comics are full of fun and optimism. The Flash is like the modern day embodiment of the Silver Age comics, and that makes sense considering he was one of the most popular characters of that time. His stories have plenty of crazy reality bending concepts, colorful costumes and villains, and plenty of heart. If I had to sell you on The Flash, I would show you this clip.
Let me handle this. James, you're off your meds, aren't you?
I'm better off without him. Take him if I start feeling down.
You know that's not how the medicine works. You're not well.
I'm fine. You want to throw some darts?
No. Listen, James, you're wearing the suit again.
I am? Well, what do you know?
Here's the deal, buddy. Tell me where those guys went, and I promise to come see you in the hospital. We'll play darts. The soft kind.
Okay. They're gonna ambush you at the Flash Museum.
See? That's all we needed. Come on, we better get over there.
What about your enemy?
Oh, right. Dude, as soon as you finish your drink, turn yourself in.
Got me again, Flash.
The Flash actually talks to his rogues and treats them like heroes, and besides Batman, he easily has the best rogues gallery of any DC hero. You got Reverse Flash, Zoom, Captain Cold, Gorilla Grodd, the Trickster, Weather Wizard, Captain Boomerang, and the people of Central City also love the Flash. In some iterations, he doesn't even have a secret identity. He helps the little people, and the people love him back. If you love sci-fi and Silver Age heroics, The Flash is for you. But it can be really hard to figure out where to start with The Flash. Considering the character time travels, he hasn't had very many consistent runs, and the fact that there's 4 of them, it can be difficult for a new reader to just pick up a Flash comic. So today I'm just going to start by explaining the difference between the 4 Flashes, and I'm mostly going to focus on Barry and Wally, because they're the 2 you're probably the most familiar with. Then I'll give you guys some recommendations for where to start with each character. The first Flash way back in the 40s was Jay Garrick. He originally got his powers by inhaling a whole bunch of water vapors, which makes no sense. Or at least somehow makes less sense than a lightning bolt of your own kinetic energy traveling back from the future to strike a whole bunch of chemicals you happen to be standing near, or being able to repeat the exact same thing that happened to Barry Allen because you know a lot about the Flash or something. I thought lightning didn't strike twice. Actually, scientifically, lightning strikes twice fairly often. Anyway, during the Silver Age of comics in the 50s, DC wanted to reboot a lot of their old characters with more modern sensibilities. They turned Alan Scott as the Green Lantern into Hal Jordan as the Green Lantern. You know, the one from the movie that shouldn't exist. And they also got rid of Jay Garrick and created Barry Allen. Barry Allen was a dorky forensic scientist who got struck by a bolt of lightning that granted him his powers. And this is one thing I have to make clear. Barry Allen is not nerdy, he's dorky. The Flash in the Justice League movie is so wildly inaccurate that it annoys me. Not a single person nowadays seems to remember that Barry was a fumbling do-gooder, but he wasn't a funny guy cracking jokes 24/7. We'll get to him. Now, I've said time and time again that I'm not the biggest Barry Allen fan. I think he served way better as a mentor for Wally. Barry would eventually sacrifice himself to save the world in Crisis on Infinite Earths, one of the largest events in DC history. And I think Barry worked way better as someone who Wally looked up to, and eventually, someone who Wally would surpass. But I understand that a lot of people watching this video probably want to read about Barry Allen, and that makes sense. I mean, the majority of Flash comics nowadays star Barry. But let's take a minute and talk about Wally West. Wally is easily in my top 3 characters from comics of all time. Almost no one in the DC universe has as much character development as Wally West. He started out as a hothead who was way more reckless and scummier than Barry Allen was. But the more Wally ran, the better he became as a person. We see him evolve into the hero that everyone knows and loves. Wally was a massive fan of Barry Allen, so he tried to recreate the accident that gave Barry his powers. And it worked. I have no idea how, but it worked. So Wally became Kid Flash and worked with Barry to stop crime. But after Barry died in Crisis on Infinite Earths, Wally took up the role as the Flash. I just think Wally has way more personality than Barry, but to each their own. Then there's Bart Allen. Basically, Bart Allen is Barry's grandson from the future. He's a little more young and mature, and he was really only the Flash for a short while. So I'll talk about him, but we really won't dive too deep into him. Okay, so let's start with the Barry Allen recommendations. First off is The Flash Rebirth by Geoff Johns. After being dead for decades from Crisis on Infinite Earths, Geoff Johns decides to bring the character back into the DC universe. Similar to Batman Hush, this book is a crash course in Flash history. You meet plenty of his greatest friends and enemies. The book deals with Barry readjusting to his new life now that he's back from the dead. If you're a fan of the Flash TV show, I recommend you start here. It's got a lot of the stuff that you'll love to see, especially the villain of this story. And right after this book, Geoff Johns starts his run on Barry Allen, and it's only a couple of volumes and leads into Flashpoint, one of the greatest Flash stories of all time. So if you're looking to jumpstart your knowledge of Barry Allen and the Flash universe, I recommend you start with Flash Rebirth. Next up is Flashpoint, and I'm sure many of you have heard of this story by now. In this story, the Flash wakes up and finds out that his mother is alive. But that's only the least of things that have changed. There's a massive war going on between Wonder Woman and Themyscira and Aquaman and Atlantis. Not only that, but Batman kills people, Superman doesn't exist, and Cyborg and President Obama are best friends. This book really plays with a whole bunch of DC concepts, not just the Flash. So it can be a little confusing if you don't know who everyone is. But the story deals with a lot of the crazier parts of the Flash mythos, including time travel and multiple realities. If you want a story that's focused on that, this is the one for you. There's also an animated movie based on this book, and I think it's actually better than the original. If you don't want to jump into comics just yet, I highly recommend you check out this movie. Or read the book and watch the movie, because there's some cool differences between the two. Next up, we have Flash Volume 1 Move Forward from the New 52. Now, I'll be the first to say this isn't the greatest Flash run of all time, but as I said, there's only so many good Barry Allen stories, plus this is miles better than the DC Rebirth run. But this is a solid starting point for Flash comics. Unlike Flash Rebirth, this book doesn't really throw too much on you at once. It really focuses in on Barry as a character. In later volumes, you'll learn more about the Rogues and other Flash characters, but this book does a good job at keeping it about Barry Allen. Plus, the artwork in this book is phenomenal. Francis Manapul is a great artist. I mean, come on, just look at this. Don't you want to read something that looks this good? Now let's talk about Wally. There are two main Wally West runs that fans debate over which are the best, and the first of those is Mark Waid's run, which you can start reading by picking up Flash by Mark Waid, Volume 1. This book is seriously good. The first story, Born to Run, is the definitive origin for Wally West. It shows him growing up and learning to become Kid Flash alongside Barry Allen. If you really want to start from the beginning, I recommend you pick up this book. Volume 2 also has one of the greatest Flash stories of all time in it, so this is a series really worth sticking with. But for my money's worth, the greatest Wally West series of all time is Geoff Johns' run, which starts with The Flash by Geoff Johns, Volume 1. Make sure you get this one though, because remember Johns also wrote a Barry Allen run, so no need to get the two confused. This book is superheroes at its finest. Geoff Johns just understands Wally. Both he and Waid do a great job of exploring the character. But what pushes this run over the top for me is Johns' exploration of the Rogues. No one writes Captain Cold like Geoff Johns does. Throughout the run, he dedicates whole issues to explaining the origins of many of Flash's famous rogues. If you're really into the Flash's rogues gallery, or you're just interested in Wally West, please check this book out. And finally, for Wally, I recommend JLA by Grant Morrison, Volume 1. Now obviously this isn't just a Flash book, it covers the whole Justice League. But Flash gets plenty of great moments in this volume. If you were a fan of the Justice League animated series, I highly recommend you check out this book. You see, after decades of different Justice Leagues popping up all over the world, Grant Morrison wanted to return the League to its core members. This book is classic Justice League, and is great if you're looking to see how Wally interacts with other team members. Okay, now if you're interested in Jay Garrick, I recommend you check out JSA Volume 1 by Geoff Johns. Again, Jay doesn't have a whole lot of great solo comics, but he works great as a member of the team here. If the Justice League is like a group of friends, the JSA is like a family. Jay, alongside with Alan Scott and many old heroes, help usher in a new era of the Justice Society. This book is a great combination of classic superheroics with great character moments. It also has a lot of nice historical elements considering many of these heroes were around during World War II. And if for some reason you're interested in Bart Allen, I have a couple of books for you. First off, we have Young Justice by Peter David. This book isn't a whole lot like the TV show, it's way funnier and more lighthearted. The three founders of this team are Robin, Superboy, and Bart. If you're looking for something that's more lighthearted and fun, this is a great book. Plus, it's got the Super Cycle in it, and you gotta love the Super Cycle. And then there's Teen Titans Volume 1 by Geoff Johns. Sorry I've recommended so much John stuff, it's just that he's written so much for DC. This book follows a new generation of Teen Titans, with Bart being one of the key members. The book is a little more serious than Young Justice, but I mean, it's still a Teen Titans book, so it's still a lot of fun. If you're looking for a Bart Allen story that's a little more mature than Young Justice, this is a good spot. Sorry though, Bart doesn't really have too many great or easy to find stories from when he was the Flash. So that's how you can start reading the Flash. Who's your favorite Flash? What book are you guys going to start with? Or what book did you guys start with in the past? Let me know in the comments below. I mean, Flash is one of the greatest heroes of all time. If you're into sci-fi and speedsters, this is definitely the hero for you.